Leadership is a craft, and gaining mastery over our leadership skills requires intentionality. No one drifts their way into becoming a better leader. We hone our leadership gifts by placing ourselves in intentional growth environments. If you want to be a better leader, you need to go where leadership is taught, and the payoff is huge. The Summit team has assembled a world-class faculty of leaders from both the church and the business worlds to help you grow in your leadership skills.
Each year, I'm really excited to see who we bring to the Summit because there's always new voices that you've never heard of that make such a huge impact.
When I think about the level of content, we deliver practical skills. So it's not just come feel good about being a leader, but there'll be some sessions where you will take away hard-hitting truths and practices that you can take back to wherever you lead.
Hundreds of people have gotten fresh visions from God at the Summit, and the main thing I pray for all year round is that we can organize a faculty and put on this event and people will feel the touch of God in their life.
Leadership is increasingly complicated. Chances are that you have to rely on influence and not just positional authority to get the job done. Joseph Grenny is the author of 4 New York Times best-selling books and co-founder of Vital Smarts. He'll address the power of influence and the 6 sources of motivation that all people share. If leaders can tap into these common motivations, Joseph says that we can actually change the behavior of those who we lead. What he's known for is crucial conversations. Actually, I had a crucial conversation with someone at work. I went in, totally led it poorly, bulldozed the conversation, and I used Joseph's content to help me go back and apologize and redeem the situation. So as he gets on stage and marries some of that with what he knows about influence and those 6 best practices to motivate people, regardless of where you lead, whether it's church, business, wherever, I think we all can learn from that.
We have relationships with leaders all over the country. One of our field team members, Wes, attended an event where one speaker in particular brought down the house. Chris Brown is a senior pastor at North Coast Church in Vista, California.
When our team sent the invitation to him, we heard back that he did not believe it was true, and he went around to all the student ministries and like, who sent me this email? Whose joke was this to invite me to the Leadership Summit? And when he finally called Steve Bell and was like, is this Steve Bell from Willow Creek Association? And told that story, we just got a big kick out of just his humility.
At the Summit this year, he'll deliver a message straight out of the Bible. Chris Brown will bring the story to life in a way that you've never experienced before.
Patrick Lencioni, he's been a friend of ours for a long time, and the last 2 years running, when he's come and spoken at the Summit, he's been among the most respected and appreciated faculty members that we've ever had. So I got to thinking, why don't we have him a 3rd time? Like, let's keep having him until he strikes out. So maybe he'll strike out this year. I don't think so. He is a fantastic leader, an amazing communicator, a winsome individual, and he's in the real world of leadership with companies and NGOs all over the world and tries to help them reach their strategic objectives. Then he takes all those learnings and brings it to the next challenge. Then he writes books that become bestsellers because it's out of the real world. It's out of the stuff of leadership that he does every day. This is a communicator who bridges old and young and the business world and the church world. And he's just an exceptional human being and one of the best communicators I've ever seen.
We all know leaders who bring the best out of the individuals on their teams, amplifying the gifts of those they lead. We also know leaders who inadvertently diminish their people. Maybe you've even served on a team with this kind of leader. It can be a painful experience. Liz Wiseman discovered that leaders who multiply the talents of their people share 5 skills. She will unpack those specific skills with us, and the good news is, any leader can learn these skills. She came in to do a webcast with us earlier last year. As I heard her talk and identify like 5 different personality types, the content that she delivers is going to be really practical, and I think we're all going to be able to go, oh, I'm that, or oh no, I'm an accidental diminisher. As we've worked with Liz, we've seen that these insights are powerful for every leader.
Over the past 19 years since the Summit began, we've noticed that leaders are compelled to take action. We are constantly amazed at what God prompts leaders to do after experiencing the Summit. When screenwriter, producer, director, and humanitarian Richard Curtis spoke at the summit a few years ago, he showed a video he produced about a beautiful, young, homeless girl in a yellow dress. After seeing that, everything changed for Brian. Here's his story.
Hi, I'm Brian Hopkins, pastor of Journey Church in Bozeman, Montana. A little girl in a yellow dress changed my life. At a global leadership summit, after seeing a film about a little homeless girl in a yellow dress who made her bed on the streets, my whole world stopped. All I could think was, Hopkins, what are you going to do to make sure that little children around the world don't have to make their beds on the streets? I knew that I didn't have any credibility with the gospel if I was turning a blind eye to global poverty. Whatever I had to do, I was in. On a trip to Ethiopia to figure out how our church was going to make a difference, I was ambushed. I met 3 kids in an orphanage and had an undeniable sense that those 3 kids were supposed to be a part of my family. Now, adopting didn't make any sense for us. We already had 4 kids, but God had bigger plans. In the matter of weeks, we were the parents of 7 children. Right now, 13 families at our church are in the process of adopting children from other countries. Nothing is closer to the heart of God than adoption. That little girl in the yellow dress not only changed my life, but the life of our church and the life of my family.
Inspiring. How many of us have been motivated to make such significant life change after attending a conference? But that's exactly what God has been doing for almost 2 decades with the summit. As we continue to share the 2013 faculty, our team is filled with anticipation about the new stories that will emerge after this year's summit. Take a look.
There are some leaders who lead well. They do so intuitively. They don't reflect on why they're leading the way they're leading. They can't even give an apologetic for the choices they make in leadership. Colin Powell is a reflective and thoughtful leader. He is universally respected and admired, and he has a kind of sober judgment about him that you just come to appreciate that very few people have. He walks around with a presence that some of our presidents never attained. There's people who stand up a little straighter when Colin Powell walks into the room. And I called him in hopes that he would come back live this year so that we could hear him give a talk and have me interview him afterwards. And it was one of the quickest conversations I've had with a world-class leader. He said, Bill, I'd love to. What are the dates? I'm eager to come. And I've had a chance to do some more reading and research about his latest thoughts on leadership. This is going to be a fantastic session at this year's summit.
Kristen, one of our team members, got a phone call from Henry Cloud out of the blue. He was just driving down the highway, probably stuck in traffic in LA, and he was thinking about the summit. It's so great to see speakers, how invested they are, and how they're already thinking about who's sitting in the seats and what their content's going to be about, and that they're, just pick up the phone and call us when they're stuck in traffic. It's cool. This year, Henry will speak directly to leaders, giving proactive tools to reset the negative tapes that play in our minds.
You probably never heard this name before, but after the summit, you will definitely never forget it. As an active participant himself in the Kenya GLS, he has seen every summit video. This electrifying speaker led a tiny ministry in Nairobi, Kenya, to become a huge, thriving church with one of the best leadership development plans that we've ever seen. Oscar Muro is a God-anointed speaker who promises to leave the summit community with a fresh understanding of the importance of how we develop our people.
I remember the day when I got an email from my daughter, Shauna, and she came across an author named Brené Brown. She's done research in the field of shame and guilt and the kind of leadership environment that destroys people. And how do you lead by lifting people instead of shaming people? I think she's going to be one of the big surprise hits of the summit this year. I can't wait for her talk.
I'm most excited about Brené Brown. I had actually tweeted her a couple months ago and said, your content on vulnerability is changing my life. And she tweeted back, join the club, it's changing all of our lives. Vulnerability, we view it as weakness, but it's actually the birthplace of joy, acceptance, love. Brene explores the interplay between vulnerability and empathy, and she encourages people to experience a wholehearted living, which means living from a place of authenticity. What she talks about is incredibly compelling, and I think will strike leaders at a really personal, visceral level.
When Gary Haugen, founder and president of International Justice Mission, spoke at the summit a few years back, admitted soccer mom Kristen Chandler took up his challenge. Here's her story.
Hi, I'm Kristen Chandler. I live in the San Diego area. At the Leadership Summit, I was challenged by the words, lead where you are. And where I am most of the time is the soccer field. I'm a soccer mom, which means shuffling my daughter to practice and washing dirty uniforms, going to games. But now it means more. It means saving lives through Kick for Hope. 4 years ago, I took up the challenge to lead where I was, and I started Kick for Hope with 3 things. I had a vision, I had a copy of Nonprofits for Dummies, and I had the support of a few friends. Last year, 134 teams and 2,000 children showed up. We've raised $84,000, which might not sound like a lot, but what that means is 3 wells in Ethiopia, malaria nets in the Congo, AIDS education and testing for over 2,000 children, and so much more. At the 2008 summit, Gary Haugen said, when we show up, God shows up. And I believe it's true, even on the soccer field.
No matter where you attend the summit, people understand that they have influence. From a mom creating a nonprofit for soccer teams to a pastor leading his congregation to have a heart for global poverty. Our prayer is that the summit becomes an incredible tool in God's hands to inspire every leader's kingdom impact.
One of the most frequent comments I get right after a summit is people will say, oh, you'll never be able to assemble a faculty next year as good as the one that we just had this year. God has directed the assembling of our faculties for the last 15 years. I don't feel much pressure about that at all. This is going to be a fantastic summit. Every once in a while, someone will contact me and ask for a meeting. When I saw the background of a particular individual, I learned that this individual had gone from being a virtually unknown minimum wage worker into one of the most successful Hollywood producers of our day. He's the producer of Survivor, The Voice, Shark Tank, and that the reason why he wanted to meet with me was because he wanted to take his money and his expertise and make the name of Christ better understood and appreciated worldwide through a television series that he was dreaming of doing. So I thought, are you kidding me? Who does this? And the person I'm talking about is Mark Burnett. When I asked him if he would come and let me interview him at the summit, he said, absolutely, I would love to come. Do you think I have anything to offer? I said, well, we'll get something out of you. I think you have something to offer. I love the fact that he's willing to take a huge professional risk for the simple reason that he wants Christ to be made known to a wider audience than is known now. I'm really looking forward to that interview with Mark Burnett.
The next speaker embodies the phrase, lead where you are. Bob Goff is an amazing communicator, and he has a great story that I think we're all going to be so inspired by this year. After learning about the plight of trafficked children all over the world, he set out to use his skills as a lawyer to help those in need. To think that this lawyer left probably a very successful law practice to go help children in Uganda and started this whole other ministry, I think is humbling. In fact, he did so much important work in Uganda, he was named High Counsel, a formal diplomat to Uganda. Bob Goff is a New York Times best-selling author, and his new book, Love Does, is a powerful inspiration to bring God's love to a world in need. His joyous, contagious style will leave you inspired to lead where you are.
If innovation isn't executed, it's just a good idea. So the challenge of innovation isn't about just having the next big idea. It's getting that idea implemented. Vijay Govindarajan, known affectionately as VG by his peers, is a world-class thought leader raised in India. Not only has he taught some of the leading business schools about the execution side of innovation, he's actually served for 10 years as an innovation expert at GE. What Vijay has learned is that the key to innovation isn't about just being a good leader. This August, he'll share his formula for innovation success, created from some of the best practices of companies known for their success in getting great ideas done.
In my opinion, Andy Stanley is probably in the top 1% of effective pastors in the entire world. And I just spent several days with him in South Africa. He and I hung out together and mentored, I don't know, 800 or 900 pastors over the course of several days. His wisdom comes straight from his gut. I mean, he lives it. He works in the church every day, every week, every month. I had the opportunity to speak at his church at their 15th anniversary. And for me to be able to share that with Andy was very memorable. And to see how his congregation loves him and respects him, I mean, he's something special. We've had Andy at the summit in the past. Every single time he rings the bell. I mean, he is a pure leader, fantastic communicator. He's going to do an awesome job. That's a look into the world-class leadership faculty that our team has put together. I have the opportunity to do the opening session. The full faculty includes Colin Powell, Andy Stanley, Mark Burnett, Oscar Mariu, Patrick Lencioni, Henry Cloud, Brene Brown, Vijay Govindarajan, Joseph Grenny, Bob Goff, Chris Brown, and Liz Wiseman. You're a leader. It's your job to keep your passion hot. Do whatever you have to do, go wherever you have to go to stay fired up as a leader. See you at the summit.